and with the legacies. I like that.
The legacy, that's all.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
that
my
works.
following this up. And that new citizens thing strips them. It screws every one of those 20 or so families that came up and said,
Are we good?
you know, we followed the rules. Now you're
Okay.
doing this to us.
Yeah.
That is.
All right, good
so
evening,
unfair.
everyone. We're going to go ahead and get our council meeting started. And we will start with roll call. It's fine. Go ahead and
Okay.
start. Okay, Lavar, here. Case, here.
Connors,
Here.
Harvey,
Here.
Nakai,
Here.
Neil,
Here.
Zuluaga.
Here. Very good. 20
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this evening we are starting with ceremonies, presentations, and appointments, and we have the police department promotions and awards ceremony. And our chief is here to present.
Good evening, everyone. Is this working? I can't tell. I generally don't need one, but I'll use it if it's here. Always a pleasure to come before every one of you to share the work that we're doing and these fine folks are continuing to do for the community. We've had the opportunity to come before you several times to present different awards and accommodations. I'm sorry, commendations. Get my words mixed up. Been a long day. Over the last year. Tonight's kind of interesting though, because this is the first time that we're actually able to come before you and do some promotions. That is a significant fact for me because, as you well know, we've been at this now as a team for about 14 months. And I'm going to take this and kind of just move over this way so I can see everybody. 14 months has gone by pretty quick. And there's probably a lot of us in the room. I see some heads nodding and some affirmations that a lot of us didn't know what we were going to get, did we? We probably still don't to some degree. But when I came here, I knew I was going to have my work cut out for me. That's okay. That's why we got here, right? But you never know what you're going to find when you get inside of a building and you start to learn the folks who are here. And you start to find out what it is that makes them tick. What do they want to do? What do they aspire to do? What are they capable of, but perhaps don't realize? And I was hoping that we would eventually get to this day where we could bring some news to all of you and share kind of what's been going on over the last year and make some announcements that I think are pretty significant for our agency. The first one we're going to look at is some promotions that we're going to bring in front of you in just a second. Why this is impactful for me as the chief, because chiefing is a fickle business, folks. I will be very honest. When you aspire to make promotions or transfers laterally within the agency, you always try to do it in a way where you hope to find someone or some folks who have the qualities that you know you can mold and use for good and positive gains in the agency in service of all of you. It's not service of just one person, it's service for the community. What I found very early on was, as people were more willing to come forward and bring their ideas and suggestions forward, and I've mentioned to many of you before, you had it, just didn't know it. You all had it, maybe you didn't know it. And maybe we still don't know it, I don't know. But if we don't, let's fake it, right? Nonetheless, today is a very impactful time for me because what we've been able to do is place 4 promotions in our ranks from within our building and not have to move outside of the 4 walls of the police department. For those of you who have been here quite a bit longer than me, that should be cause for celebration. Because what you are finding is every single one of you in this room, and many of them who are still out on the road now and who could not be here tonight, have it. Do you believe you have it? I believe you have it. If you continue to believe you have it, nothing will stop us. I've told you that. So the first order of business, I'd like to bring up 4 folks who have it and have earned it, and are continuing to do good things for the agency. And the first 2 folks I'd like to bring up are Jeff Sanchez and Kristen Arsenault. While they're coming up, I'll tell you a little bit about them from my perspective. Each of them has a wide and varied range of experiences, but they come from different sandboxes, right? Kristen's got a lot of time in a big organization before she came to work for us, and Jeff's got a lot of time in some smaller organizations, but yet brings a cumulative total of his experience to what he hoped to do standing here. So through the process, we were able to identify quickly that these folks were not only willing and able to do the job, but were excited to do it, to find out what we could do together to move the agency forward to the next level. So that being said, the 2 new lieutenants, I would like to present your certificates, but I know that at least a bunch of children would like to try to stick their father with this new badge. So if I can have Jeff's kids come on up, whoever's going to do the pinning here. I hope you got him everything he wanted. Okay, now this is the running joke. You just make sure you leave it like that, right? Okay. Nonetheless, hopefully we're getting somebody to take a picture of this, because this is something that may not make a lot of sense to him now, but it will in a while. So I remember what I said. There you go. Very well. Okay, so
Jeff,
wait, here, come on. We got a photograph here. I'll get out of the way, get one for you guys. We'll take more as a team together. So I'd like to invite the 2 lieutenants to stay up here with me while we do some more. And I'll tell you what, I got these plaques for you. So let's show you these real quick. And then we'll take a couple of pictures with the 2 of you. Present certificates of promotion to both of you, recognizing your new ranks within the organization. You bet. Let's see if we can center up and you guys can take a picture with the 2 plaques. I will tell you, while they're taking pictures, these 2 have formed a pretty close bond together as a team. I think they both realize what their roles are, looking out for every one of the folks in here. I'm excited to see what they can do. And just remember, you're not alone. You don't work alone. You have a support system behind you. I will dump everything I can on top of you as long as you're willing to absorb it. Just remember, you don't always have to have all the answers. Just know where to go look for them. All right. Congratulations and well done. I'd like to invite them to stay here. Thank you. Okay. The next 2 folks I'd like to have come on up are our new sergeants. And our new sergeants are Courtney Wadham and Darren Traylor. Come on up, y'all. Okay, so it's very likely that in some capacity, most of the folks in the audience know these 2. They've been around a little while. Darren was recently moved back to operations and patrol after he spent some time as a school resource officer at the middle school. And that is an assignment that I know he loved, and I know he did not give up easily. And I can tell you that what he was doing with the kids then, he's continuing to do now, but as a sergeant on the road and helping mentor everybody else. Courtney has also been around a while, and she's kind of like the jack of all trades. She does a lot of things really good. And when everybody has a code enforcement problem, they go right to her. The bad part is, as she's figured out, is that I've had some code enforcement experience. So we're kind of working together as a team here, finding little holes and answers. But nonetheless, again, I cannot stress enough, if you're familiar with what the agency's evolution has looked like over 14 months, I could not be prouder to stand here. I cannot stress that enough. But if you look around for folks within the building who deserve the opportunity to show that they have what it takes to get the job done, look no further than these 2 right here. I trust them. I know that they can get the job done. I also know that you all understand that you don't just get it by osmosis because you have stripes on. Rely on your team. and we will make sure that we make you as successful as you can be. Deal? All right. I know you got some people want to pin badges on you. So if I can have their families come on up. And if you took any lessons from the young man earlier, make sure the pin stays straight and just drive it right in. No way. I keep forgetting this is recorded. All right, you all should have the badges, right? Yeah. Okay. There you go. Perfect. Nicely done. And, oh, buddy, you good. Oh, hey, you can do it. If he doesn't give you what you want later, drive it right into his chest. That's okay. All right, I'm taking away from Courtney's time with her mom and her son. Nonetheless, I'd like to present all of you, our new sergeants, Courtney Wadham and Darren Traylor. Thank you very much. Congratulations. I have these plaques for all of you as well. Certificate of promotion plaque for you. If I misspelled anything, tell me later. I'll reprint them. And Darren, there's yours. And if you all want to try to squeeze in, we can get a picture together, and then I'll let you all go sit, and Jeff and I and Kristen will get the rest of them.
Kristen, what's your
Only
last
a
name?
cute picture because the baby's in it.
Is that it?
Okay, so we're going to move on to
Arsenal, so
another
it's French
award
or something.
presentation here in just a second.
Yeah, okay, Arsenal.
If you
Oh,
all
très
would
bien.
like more photographs, we will have a chance to do that in just a few minutes, but I am going to keep it rolling for the sake of time. As is the case oftentimes in policing, things don't always go very promptly, but we try as best we can to keep things moving, and sometimes we rely on our folks to help us out. Jen's a big help for me because every now and then she reminds me of some stuff that, we wanted to do, or we just kind of delayed too much. So this is exactly one of those projects. And it's interesting because this is actually the first fire that I worked when I got here in April of 22. And I think it was called the Mills Ranch Fire up off 67. I will be very honest, and I think I've made a joke oftentimes that I can speak the language of hurricane very easily. I don't speak wildfire very fluently yet, but I'm learning. But what I do understand is ICS and incident command and how it works. And this was my first big view into how the incident command system worked in this area. And I have to tell you, I was astounded in a good way. You all are in very good hands as it relates to your public safety. I've watched the fire services work hand in hand. I've watched the ambulance service work hand in hand. I've worked the officers, worked the deputies hand in hand. Pretty impressive. So what we're going to do now is present what's called a unit citation award. And this award is given to multiple members of the agency who worked on the same thing, but it doesn't matter what discipline they serve inside the building. For example, the award that I'm going to give now involves dispatchers and officers. So I'd like to make a certificate presentation to the following recipients of the unit citation award. If I can get Sergeant Traylor back up here. If the baby will let you come. Officer Dominic Madronia, if you'd come up. Dispatcher Robin Lindbergh. Officer Manolo De Jesus. Officer Nathan Humphrey. So if I can get it open. Dispatcher Amber Hartman. Officer Christopher Barlow. Assistant Dispatch Supervisor Max Dalton. Is he here? Is he working? Okay, we'll give him his later. And last but not least, Lieutenant Sanchez. So you can hand off Chris's and take yours. So if y'all would just stand in the front, I'll give them an explanation real quick. When that fire started, these are the folks who immediately jumped into action without hesitation or reservation to get the job done. Whether you had people manning phone lines, whether you had people going door to door trying to do evacuations, whether or not you had people blocking streets, directing traffic, whatever the case may be, no one had to tell them what they needed to do. They did it. That's the difference. So congratulations to every one of you as a recipient of the Unit Citation Award. With my thanks and appreciation. Well done. Congratulations. If you all want to open them, and maybe you can take a picture with everybody together, and we'll put this up. Yeah, you're gonna have to act like you like one another. Yeah, one. Yeah, I noticed that wasn't a cute picture because the baby wasn't with us. Yeah, I get it. Anyway. Okay, so now we're going to move into the last three presentations, and I appreciate everybody's patience and willingness to entertain us tonight with these presentations because they do mean a lot to me. The first award we're going to give out right now is to, quite honestly, a guy who could very well have easily gotten one of these awards that you'll hear about in a few minutes. And you've seen him here before. He does a heck of a job. And you just saw him a second ago, but I'd like to call Officer Humphrey back to the top because I am presenting him with the Chief's Award of Excellence. And what you will find with this young man, yeah, come on up. Let's seriously. Yeah. There you go. Come on up there. Man. There you go. So, as a very quick explanation of why we're here. You'll find as you go, and I may have told you this a couple times, but what we try to focus on here is quality, not quantity. I'm not out for just rampant numbers of activity, but what I make sure they're doing is things with a purpose, right? The idea is to try to alter behavior, but it's to try to put a little bit of a kinder edge on the enforcement too. That's a great team right there, by the way.
Hi.
So what has Officer Humphrey up here, among other things that he does, is his absolutely crazy dedication to the detection and apprehension of DUI drivers in the city. When I tell you, this guy is a hound dog for DUI and drug related offenses in the city is a gross understatement, and his wife is nodding in affirmative because that truly is his calling. Now, as a guy who was a traffic officer and a traffic cop most of his career, and yes, I still do run traffic, I have a great appreciation for what he does because it takes proactivity. You've got to sometimes go and look for these things. They don't always come to you. You've got to go looking, and he does day in and day out, shift after shift without reservation. And I'm here to tell you, it oftentimes causes him to lose time at home. I hear you have a little closer of a drive now, though, but that's good. Or maybe, I don't. Oh, gotcha. Somebody told me a lie then. But what the point I am trying to get at is I recently have watched him have to turn duty time and court time 3 days in a row. I think it was 3 days in a row. And let me tell you, at least in front of me, let me tell you how many times I've heard him complain about it. Not one. Zero. Why? Because he believes in what he's doing. And quite honestly, so do I. And so should you. So with my thanks and appreciation, I'm going to present you the Chief's Award of Excellence. With my thanks. And job well done. You bet. Got a picture? Hey, whatever works. We're a half hour earlier for bedtime now, so you're good. Well, thank you. Now, when I tell you that they're here for you, do you see what I mean? That's your future right there. And I'm proud of that. We'll keep the awards moving. So the next award we're going to present is for a gentleman who quite honestly makes an impact in ways that honestly I've never seen in his discipline within the agency. Because quite honestly, if anybody who knows the guy you're going to meet in just a second will tell you that he has this energy about him when he works that's unmatched. And they have in patrol, they have a lot of pet names for him because whenever he's working, I always have to watch the cat a little closer to make sure I'm not missing anything. Nonetheless, we have terms for them in the department. I'm not going to share them, but it sounds a lot like stirrer. Anyway, so for his work, I'd like to call Brian Bledsoe to the front. Brian is being presented. This plaque is our dispatcher of the year. And when you see the officers in the uniform, in almost every occasion, you talk to these folks first. They are most oftentimes the unsung heroes of the building. And I will be very honest, I thank Jen for helping me keep them in focus because she does a great job. But this particular award we're presenting to Brian as Dispatcher of the Year for 2022. I'll read it. In recognition of your work, dedication, and commitment to the Woodland Park Police Department by being named Dispatcher of the Year for 2022, your contributions are noticed, appreciated, and you are to be commended for your actions. With my thanks, well done. Anybody want to come up and say anything? You want to say anything? No? No. Any,
I love the job. I mean, it's a testament to the department that they are great sportsmen, staff in the department. Serve guys, love to serve guys. So it's strange to see one like this for this. Love to do.
well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, and finally, I don't have a drum, but we'll do a drum roll. The last award of the night that we're going to present is our Officer of the Year Award for 2022. A little bit of a lead up to this one. Officer Humphrey, who you just met, did he skate out already? Oh, no, there he is. Okay. And the gentleman that you're about to meet work on the same squad. Yeah. But I love squads like theirs because they are going all night long. And when I tell you that this award could have easily gone to either one of those guys, very, very few statistics separated the two. Probably one good night or one bad night could have swayed the vote either way. But at this particular instance, the gentleman who you're going to meet right now will be presented with this award, Officer Vigil. Patrick Vigil, come on up. So this is another guy I think you've seen up here before because he stays busy and it's just a fact. But he also has a dedication and a level of fire and passion about what he does that makes it very easy to want to have him on your team and try to push his energy onto some of the newer officers who we've got coming in. He knows as well as most everybody in the agency, because you and I have spoken more than once about it, that his future is going places as long as he is willing to accept those challenges and run with them with both hands. But for your work, you are going to be presented with this award tonight, and I'll read it very quickly. presented to Patrick Vigil in recognition of your work, dedication, and commitment to the Woodland Park Police Department by being named Officer of the Year for 2022. Your contributions are noticed, appreciated, and you are to be commended for your actions with my thanks. Well done. So very quick, I'll wrap up, and I appreciate everybody's time. And you have any commentary? I mean, Nathan had commentary. Do you have commentary? Don't let him up.
No, thank you, everybody. What we do at night, I mean, we don't get the good calls like we do during the day, but what we try to do is Nathan and I just try to get those guys off the road that are driving drunk, try to save some lives. So that's what we try to do. So, but we're here for you guys, you know, because you never know who's coming down that road and what's in their system. So we try to keep them off the road for you guys. All right.
All right, so as a very quick wrap up, what you have seen is a small snapshot of what goes on every day. This is not inclusive of everything. The agency is full of folks who want to do the right things and want to learn new ways. We have a bunch of new guys who are coming on right now, who I will tell you right at this very moment are going to be up here receiving the very same awards that you just saw in short order. So hang on, because good things are coming again this year. We're not stopping. And I might be the old guy, but I still feel like the new guy. So don't let me outstat any one of you. Anyway, thank you all very much, because without your support for all of us, we can't do this. They make this place run. Without a supportive community, a good police department will fail. Without a good police department, a community will fail. And we're hoping that this is one little way that maybe we've shown you all over the past 14 months that we're here to play ball. We're here to do it professionally. And we mean that we're going to say, and we're here for every one of you. So with my thanks, thank you all very much for entertaining us. Mayor, Council, thank you all for humoring me again. We love being up here to show you all these things, and I'll let you get back to your meeting. Thank you very much. Congratulations to everybody. Well done.
And give the families a second to. No. We lost. It's points presenting next. Points presenting next. Yeah. Yeah, I'll grab it when it. Yeah. Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on with items 4. We have no additions, deletions, or corrections to agenda. Oh, we do. 3B. Oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself. We have a B. We have 3B. Sorry about that. Presentations on housing needs assessment, scope of work, and our presenter is Brian Points with Points Consulting.
And Brian is on Zoom,
Okay.
so I will pass it over to him, but he will be presenting just a quick overview of the scope of work for the housing needs assessment.
Great.
Everybody hear me? Just audio check. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear me?
Eric, can you turn it up? Okay, can you try again, Brian?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, everybody. Also want to let you all know that I have Pedro
Jimenez on my team here as well, and he's my assistant project lead. So wanted him to be on the call also because he and I work very hand in hand on projects like this. So the point of this presentation here in this 10 to 15 minutes is just to familiarize the community and all the city council and city leadership on what we're doing and why, and answer any questions about that. And we'll
Excuse me, sir. I'm
Yes.
having a real hard time hearing you. Could you speak into your microphone a lot closer?
Yeah, I'm just using my my laptop, so I don't have an amplifier on it.
Well, whatever you just did, that works. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just talk louder. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. And just confirming that you're seeing the PowerPoint cover page. Is that what I'm projecting right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I was saying that this meeting is about telling the city leadership what we're doing and why, and how long it's going to take and what you can expect to get from it, and to answer any questions that you have. So we'll try to get into that without taking too much time. So this is our team. This is actually just a portion of our team. There's a few other team members that are involved, but we just try to put the key team members on here because they're the people you'll see and hear from. But myself, Brian Points, I'm an economist. I've done housing studies throughout the United States, including Georgia, Florida, Colorado, Oregon, Idaho, Kentucky, Oklahoma. The list goes on. One of the most recent studies we just completed was in the city of Montrose. And we just published that this week. If anybody's curious, you can go find that material on our website. So this is something we know how to do and is obviously a big issue in the United States right now. Pedro on my team is also an economist and he is the assistant project lead. So we work together on communication and all the different aspects of the study and getting the team to do all the research components of it. This is the scope of work that we're going to follow and the kind of the stages of it. So you can see there that we've annotated when to expect deliverables. We're working with Michael and some other members of the team on the city, most notably Karen in the planning department and Grace as our kind of main contacts. And throughout this process, we're going to be providing those deliverables to that team for review. And I'll go over in the next few slides here what the components of these different pieces of the scope are. But first, I just want to address, because I think this is the question that comes up most frequently, is why do you do a study like this? Which is a reasonable question. Somebody could look at this and say, well, we know we need housing, so why do we need a consultant to tell us we need housing? Well, it's because you want results. You don't just want more housing to be built kind of ad hoc. You want it to be, you want the city, you want nonprofits and for-profits to have all the information on what these pockets of demand are and what pieces are maybe not being fulfilled because it's difficult for builders to develop at that price point because people don't know that there's demand for it or any of those other asymmetry of information issues. It's particularly important in Woodland Park, I would also add, because you have constraints, both in terms of your land and in terms of your water availability. So the city cannot just continue to expand perpetually in terms of residential. There's a limit to how big it can get. So with that constraint in mind, it takes the right kind of information, and it does take some level of planning. Not necessarily, top-down planning, but planning that facilitates growth and enables the private sector to do its job. So we hope that this type of study enables the private sector and the not-for-profits to put the land that's in existence to the highest and best use for both residential and for other purposes. So we're not doing a study really on commercial or industrial. But again, there's only so much land, so you have to kind of incorporate that into your view too. Okay, is this better to be residential, or is this better to be commercial or mixed use or anything within those limits? So that's why we're doing it. And I just want to go over some of the key things that you all in the community can expect from the study. So in more detail, we're going to tell you what's the growth trajectory, how many homes that equates to over the next 20 years, what types of homes would provide the appropriate balance for affordability and attainability, how do short-term rentals affect the community, both positively and negatively, and what should the city do about facilitating housing, not in the sense of giving money away or anything like that, but just in terms of alterations to planning code, building code, zoning code, that type of thing. The last thing I'll say on this point is that we're here to listen to everybody, and that's part of our job. Pedro and I were in Woodland Park last week, I think that it was, and we had a series of really productive meetings, some of them one-on-one with city council members, and then also with members of the real estate, finance, nonprofit, and building communities that were really fruitful for us to understand the context of the community. For those of you who are in the audience, you also have a role to play too. We're going to be asking for your input when we release our community survey here just in a few weeks. So you can look out on the city website and for releases of information about that. So here's a bit more on our scope of work. I think I've given you the key points that you need. I'm not going to read every aspect of this slide deck, but on task 2, this is where we do our kind of our background or ecosystem review, where we look at things like past studies, comprehensive plans, things of that nature, and provide a summary of that shapes how we look at the quantitative data. Task 3 is when we look at that quantitative data, which is going to include demographics, economics, housing production, multiple listing services data, short-term rental data, a whole host of things, affordability data, things in that realm that help us understand the whole picture. Engagement and prioritization. We've actually kind of started this already through the interviews that we've had, and it will continue with further interviews and with the community survey that I mentioned. When we get to task 5, that's about putting it together and providing you a housing needs forecast out to 2040, and also strategies and best practices for how, especially other communities in Colorado, have dealt with similar issues. And then finally, the final report and presentation. First, take that to the planning team. With their approval, we take that to City Council with the hope that you will adopt that plan and make it part of your process moving forward. And last point I want to mention here, because it is really important. I can't overemphasize how important it is that the community weighs in on this stuff. We have a little bit about our strategy and the logistics for how we get information out on the community survey. So we use an electronic tool called Survey Legend. We promote it through social media, things like Facebook and LinkedIn. In this case, we may also tandem that with the What's Up Woodland Park tool. Our team had a conversation with Grace earlier today on that, and we're prepared to use that in whatever way is best. And here's some of the response rates that we've gotten on similar studies in some of these communities I've talked about. So you should at least hope for a 4 to 5% response rate. And although you may think that's not super high, that's actually enough to be what you would consider to be statistically significant. So we run those numbers as well to ensure that we have a high enough number to say this confidently represents what the community thinks. The more we get, the better. But I know that from I believe on the short-term rental survey that you did, it was in this a little bit lower, I think, than the range of numbers that we're looking at. So if you all saw that study, you know that you can get a lot of quality information even out of that number of responses. So those are the things that I wanted to cover in our brief presentation. I think that we have time for Q&A if that's if I'm following the agenda correctly, but let me know what you want to do next.
Council, do you have any questions or comments? Councilmember Harvey? None? Councilmember Zuluaga?
So Brian, notwithstanding, it was hard to hear what you were saying. My question is with the public engagement. I see you're doing it by digital and some flyers and mailers. Are you doing any sort of town hall at all?
Yeah, yes, thank you for that question. We're also going to do that. We try to do a very multimodal process so that, you know, some people like to just click through on their phone. Some people like to go to a meeting. Some people like to go to a virtual meeting. So we provide all of those different options. The one thing we're not doing is paper-based mail surveys. I don't have anything against that. It's just very time-consuming and expensive and wasn't part of the scope of what we're doing.
And then are you doing key stakeholder phone interviews or things like that? Or is it all digital?
Yeah. We're doing interviews both in person and on the phone. And we were in Woodland Park just last week and had a number of meetings. I think we missed you during those meetings, but we'd love to meet with you on another occasion when we're in town. So
so I'm on your list. That's good.
Yeah, you're on the list. Yeah, so we try to do as many as we can in person, but obviously we're not there all the time. So some of those are, we followed up with the chamber, for example, because we couldn't connect with them when we were there in person, and we did a virtual interview with them.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Council, anything further? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation, and we certainly look forward to the data that you gather and working with you guys.
Thanks very much.
Okay, we are going to move on now to number 4. And that's additions, deletions, or corrections to agenda. Having none, we are on to number 5, which is the consent calendar. And that's the approval of the May 18th council regular meeting minutes, and Grace is presenting that.
Maybe. So yeah, what we have here are the May 18th meeting minutes. I don't have any additions, deletions, or corrections from council prior to now, and I'm looking at Nakai.
Sorry, I didn't get a chance to email you. I just read them this morning or this afternoon. The only thing was I had a minor addition in reports. I did it out of order, but I did mention the Wildfire Preparedness Day, Saturday, May 20th at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that was all I had.
Okay, got it.
Okay, council, can I get a motion?
We'll make a motion to approve the May 18, 2023 City Council regular council meeting minutes with the addition that was just made by
I'll second.
Councilmember Nakai.
Okay, and we are voting verbally
Oh
tonight.
yeah, I forgot to announce that. We're just going to do verbal votes this evening because we have several council members with technical difficulties. So there we go.
Okay,
It's faster that way anyways.
Did you get yours?
Labar,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Connors,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Zuluaga.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries unanimously.
All right. Now we're off to item 6, which is public comment on items not on the agenda. And Grace, do you have people signed up for that?
I do. The first one I have is Jeremy Lyons.
Grace, can you let us know how many people do you have signed up?
4 total.
Thank you.
All right, hey, it's great to be here with you tonight. I guess we're doing 3 minutes on the clock. That's pretty typical. Okay, thanks. All right, so Jeremy Lyons, and I'm a resident right here in Woodland Park, and I'd like to open tonight with a 2-part question. Okay, you ready? Woodland Park trivia. Here we go. In the last year, how many citations were written for number 1, parking on the street, number 2, feeding wildlife? Both are violations in Woodland Park. But beyond that, I believe that any reasonable person knows that you just shouldn't do that, right? Because feeding wildlife isn't good for them. And parking on the street is just annoying for the rest of your neighbors. So according to the records department here at Woodland Park PD, it was 1. in both cases. 1 citation for parking in a handicapped spot. Now, that is not a knock on our hardworking police department. They're great Americans. We've seen that tonight, who quite frankly have bigger fish to fry. Now, I have read through the proposed ordinance. Okay, in my opinion, it is unenforceable. Who on earth is going to come to check and see that as a homeowner, that I am on site the majority of the time during every rental period? Are we going to pull everyone out into the driveway and ask to see driver's licenses and a home deed, make sure everything's copacetic? Who will ensure that there are no outstanding health and safety violations in each home? Now, in reality, I agree with that. Hey, that's a great idea. It's for the safety of our citizens. Let's have every home inspected in Woodland Park. It's just that who's going to pay for that? So if you have a petitioner show up on your doorstep asking for your signature, please, I implore you, read every single word of this ordinance for yourself. So let me just step back, big picture here. With this ordinance, are we going to significantly reduce the city's income from STR sales and lodging taxes? And at the same time, hire a STR police force to look into this? It just seems like to me that there's a handful of folks that cannot find love in their heart for their neighbor. So rather than rewrite their neighborhood covenant or update their HOA rules to address STRs, or even just come up with their own HOA on your street, they are placing this ridiculous ordinance at your feet as council members and commanding you to solve their problem. All right, so here's my recommendation. Revive the very well-written 1431 and add a couple things to bring folks to the negotiation table. Here's my recommendation. Number 1, caps. Add caps to guide and achieve the natural balance that is needed for housing. You just saw the presentation. Number 2, and not everybody's with me on this, ban fires at STRs. As an STR guest in Woodland Park, you cannot have a fire regardless of the burn ban status if that will put folks at ease. All right, go to Beerworks if you want to watch Caveman TV. So I urge you, please take action. The majority of you know what is right for Woodland Park, because this ordinance is not it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Jim French.
Grace, what was that name again, please?
Jeremy Lyons. Oh, this one?
Uh-huh.
Jim
Thank you.
French. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You can wait. I'm sorry. For 6, the next one I have is Corliss Palmer. Okay. And if you could just state your name.
McKenna Norton. Hi, my name is McKenna, and I'm the girl of the West. I serve as the proud ambassador for the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo, and I am so excited to let you know that pro rodeo world champions and rising stars from across the US, Canada, and Mexico will all be competing for over $1 million in payouts. And it's all happening at the NFR Open at the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo, July 11th through the 15th in Colorado Springs. Over 200 contestants will bring their talents to the scenic Norris Penrose Event Center to compete in bareback riding, breakaway roping, steer wrestling, team roping, saddle bronc riding, tie-down roping, barrel racing, and bull riding. The semifinals and finals will be held on Saturday, July 15th, when the National Circuit Champions will be crowned. It is important to let you know that the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo is a very special event for me and my family. It's important to us because of everything it stands for: our Western heritage and Western values, the sport of professional rodeo, and most of all, giving back to our local military and their families. So I am so grateful to be representing this legacy event that brings people together to celebrate all that is good in our country and the growing sport of rodeo, all while honoring the service and sacrifice made by our military and their families. The Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo has proudly been giving back to our local military and families ever since 1946. Our local military will be honored at each performance. U.S. Army, SMDC, and MDA on Tuesday night, Fort Carson in the 4th Infantry Division on Wednesday night, the 302nd Airlift Wing and first responders on Thursday night, Guard and Reserve units and educators on Friday matinee, Space Night on Friday evening, the United States Air Force Academy on Saturday matinee, and NORAD and the U.S. Northcom on Saturday evening. Well, I have so much more to tell you about this year's rodeo. It's going to be incredible. The NFR Open at the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo will be held July 11th through the 15th, with evening performances on Tuesday through Saturday and matinee performances on Friday and Saturday. Yep, that's right. Tuesday evening and Friday matinee are new additions this year due to the demand for more performances after last year's sellouts. That's more performances, more fans, more fun, and 2 more chances to see all the action live and in person. Evening performances will begin at 7 p.m. with matinee performances starting at noon. Grounds open at 10 a.m. for matinee performances and 4 p.m. for evening performances. Arriving early helps to avoid traffic, and there's plenty to do before the rodeo begins, with lots of vendors for shopping, lots of options to grab a bite to eat or something to drink, and plenty of fun to be had in the fan zone, for both kids and grown-ups too. After the rodeo, be sure to stick around for autographs from the contestants, the Rangerettes, State Queens, and the Girl of the West. That's me. Then live music and dancing awaits in the Coors Roadhouse Saloon. I'll be watching for you to wave back at us from our awesome pink Ram truck from Perkins Motors. We'll be heading out all over town to promote our rodeo at businesses, military installations, and community events, and stopping by our generous sponsors who help make our event possible. And speaking of community events, I hope to see you all bright and early on June 21st at the annual Colorado Springs Western Street Breakfast. Enjoy the $5 breakfast prepared and served by active duty military volunteers. Then get ready for the best in professional rodeo at the NFR Open at the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo, July 11th through the 15th at the Norris Penrose Event Center in Colorado Springs. Tickets are selling fast, so be sure to get yours today online at pikespeakerbust.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't we all wish we could speak publicly like that? That was a very good job. Thank you. And ladies, thank you for signing up under item number 6. I appreciate that because they used to come every year and present, but since they're not a part of Woodland Park, it was removed from the agenda, but they were clever enough to get around it on item number 6. So good job.
Thank you.
McKenna, I just want to applaud you for your articulation. To have 3+ minutes all in your brain, boom, 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 was spot on.
Okay, and next we have Jerry Penland.
Jerry Penland, Masters Drive, Woodland Park voter. I actually didn't plan to speak tonight, but I have to clear the record. I do not appreciate a council member assuming they know why over 800 voters vetoed 1431 without talking to us. That council member, by pure speculation, assumed our referendum petition was so successful. He made an assumption that was incorrect. On the record, nobody I talked to, and I talked to several hundred people, nobody I talked to wanted to lower caps. Caps are simply unacceptable. If you bring back a rehashed 1431 that has caps in it, we will probably simply repeal it again. Or you can send it, that part, to a special election, and we will probably win that special election because nobody I talked to wanted caps, wants caps. Why are you wasting our time? The citizens will decide this issue. You have an ordinance that you can simply put into law right now or soon. We are not a small group. We are 800 strong. We keep being referred to as a small group. 800 is almost 2/3 of what it takes to win any yes/no election in Woodland Park. We sent you a clear message with our referendum petition. It's very clear. We're not dealing with Title V, we're dealing with Title 18. Our ordinance is very simple for anybody to understand. It only takes about a minute to read it. The message to the citizens is clear. If you don't want short-term rentals in our residential neighborhoods, sign our petition and vote with us in the upcoming special election. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have for 6, and I don't see any hands on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. All right, 7, we are at unfinished business with 7A, approval of subdivision development agreement, and our planning director Karen is presenting.
I just have a pretty short update. This item's been on your agenda for 2 subsequent meeting or 2 prior meetings now. And from that, it's moved along with some additions of additional documents addressing concerns and items that were expressed back on May 4th. In your packet, the staff report included an additional version of the subdivision development agreement for the Stone Ridge Village filing number 5. And that is a version that was prepared by Mr. Howes, representative of the developer. He specifically added sections F, G, and H, which appear on pages 4 and 5 of that document. We did route that to our city attorney for review and comment. And staff's position is that we still recommend the original SDA document that is in front of you. There is one small change to that SDA document, and that was there was a typo in item C3 where we referenced a street that was not in this development. So my sincere apologies, we've made that correction. And then related to that, there's been some additional documents that have been brought forward after the Thursday packet deadline when all this information went out to all of you. Specifically Friday afternoon, Mr. Howes submitted an additional document, which was a response memo to our city attorney's memo that was dated 5/16/23. That response memo from the developer was dated 5/26. This was routed to all of you on Tuesday, May 30th, after the long weekend. And then that same afternoon, we received an additional piece of correspondence from Mr. Howes, and he had directed that to the entire council as well as some city staff. And that was a review letter from their attorney addressing statements that were made at the May 4th City Council meeting. So those were additions to the packet. Want to make sure it was very clear that everybody was in receipt of those. The bottom line conclusion is staff recommendation remains approve the subdivision development agreement for Stone Ridge Village filing number 5 as presented by staff. And that's with the requirement that Exhibit A must be updated with cost estimates acceptable to the city for all the improvements being installed, and that the SDA and the associated final plat are to be recorded concurrently after financial guarantee is provided to the city.
Okay, thank you, Karen. And council, I just want to, with this topic really quick, to make it as simplistic as possible. We've all received the documents. We've all had the opportunity to review them. Our job is to either vote yes or no based on staff's recommendation. The only authority we have in all of the information that we received is to do just that with the SDA. That's our only authority. If there's a disagreement between the applicant and staff, that then goes to the attorneys. That is not for us to deal with. So I just wanted to clarify that before anyone felt like they needed to then question any documents that were received. So, and Nina is also available on Zoom. So with that, does council have any questions for me? Okay, do you all feel like you understand the issue? Okay. So if council is comfortable.
Can you tell me the status of the 3 things that were before us? Are they included in the SDA so that we're not even going to talk about them or not?
So what do you
The
mean?
requirement to redo the curb,
Mhm.
the requirement to have 4 inches of asphalt and the indemnification amount that includes the not yet completed public utilities. Those are the three things that we were listening to all the information about.
Right.
Several council.
So it
meetings
would go
ago.
back to the original recommendation of staff as to what Ben had mentioned that he required having done. And so if you voted yes on this, then those would fall under being repaired, or they have to abide by what the city engineer is requesting. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mayor, if I could address my comment to Mr. Howe. What Rusty just asked, and as we've looked at this packet, what I'm seeing is that you're bringing findings of your opinion or fact or whatever, however we look at that. And it's outside of our jurisdiction. We can approve your SDA, but we are, our hands, we have 3 employees. We have 3 hires, should I say. That's the city manager, the city attorney, and the city judge. We then delegate the responsibility to decide how they conduct, or Michael decides how the staff conducts themselves, and they're accountable to him. They're not accountable to us. So I found it problematic to dive into the weeds of the differences of where you guys are at with that. Seems to me that it's probably a legal thing. It's not something we have jurisdiction over, but we do have jurisdiction over saying, yeah, at least this is my understanding. Maybe the other council have a different opinion, but I think we have the ability to say, yes, go ahead with your SDA. And from what we see, go ahead either yes or no, according to what staff is recommending. So I just wanted to say that to you, to let you know, I've read and heard what you're saying, but it's beyond the scope of what we have authority to work on.
So
as
Mr.
council
House,
members.
before you answer, Councilmember Zuluaga is summing it up. Our job is simply, we either agree with staff's recommendation and we vote yes for what they're to move forward with this, or a council member can vote no if they feel like they agreed with your information over staff's. That's all we can do. From there, it then becomes attorney's prerogatives, not ours. So should you find you don't agree with staff in what their decisions are, that falls out of our jurisdiction then. So I just want to clarify that for the sake of any further presentations or discussion by either parties, so that council understands their role is not to determine concrete specifications, chemical specifications, or who or how or what. It is, we either agree with staff's recommendation or we don't. And that's our job. And it ends there. Anything beyond that belongs with the attorney's offices.
So if I can ask you then a question based on what the mayor's just said. My sense is you want to move forward with an SDA. And so I don't want to get in your way about that. So I'm not sure I want to vote no. But there are, it's clear that you seem to have a different of opinion with where staff are on it. So that's not something I can address. I can say yes to your SDA. I could say no, and I think it'd be a disservice, but you want to make a comment on that?
Well, we proposed skip house for Stone Ridge Village. We proposed some amendments to the SDA to clarify some of the things under the PUD. Stone Ridge Village is a planned unit development. The rules and regulations of that PUD are approved by City Council in cooperation with the landowner. City Council, that's a binding contract between the City of Woodland Park and Stone Ridge Village. It sets lot density, sizes, setbacks, road widths, all those kinds of things. For example, if you recall, our road right-of-ways are different in Stone Ridge than they are in other parts of the city, based on requirements for public utilities and private utilities. In filing 4, our PUD was amended by you to incorporate those two things, for example, into our PUD. We've had, what I tried to do in a couple of these was clarify the SDA based on history that has happened in the past that affect the PUD. One of those was how we do our sidewalks in the PUD. The other one was to try to clarify the process we go through and we move forward with with our pre-construction conferences and the authority of the staff and the members of the staff based on what they're doing and what they're not doing and the authorities that come out to the public. I also tried to clarify in that the flaw that we had where we had to accept non-public utilities after bonding. So I tried to put a proposal in there that would allow that to happen based on what Core and Black Hills Energy. If what you're telling us tonight is that your recommendation is we go into negotiations with the city attorney, we can do that. We want to move forward in a clear and defined format. So there's no vagueness. There's no, well, didn't have this happen. This didn't happen. We want to be able to go forward and say, from this point forward, this is what we got to do. The comment about what's out there with our curb, we've got reports out there. And so I'm not sure I really understand the direction you want to go, because I'm not sure if you approve the SDA, I don't know where we're going to go forward with staff. The processes of dealing with the city engineer and the city construction inspector are cloudy at best at this point in time. We just want to make sure we go down the right road and we're all on the same page. And if that means the city attorney's office needs to work with us to develop the subdivision development agreement, then maybe your answer is to approve the SDA with any amendments approved by the city attorney. Don't know. We have to sign it. You have to sign it. If you approve it and we don't sign it, we don't have an agreement.
Can I hop in, Mayor?
Please.
Hi, sorry I'm not there in person. So just to clarify, the version of the agreement that was in the packet by staff is what we've approved. To continue on negotiation with the number of resources that have been already spent is fruitless. We just want direction from council. We don't agree with the 3 additions that the property owner has added. That subsection F. He's trying to incorporate the PUD and the SDA in a way that's not done in any other SDA. This subsection also tries to make the city subcontract with builders and owners, which puts more work on the city and staff to enforce, and leaves it so that large sections of the development don't have sidewalks for up to 2 years. Similarly, the additional subsection G, we don't think is appropriate. This is addressed elsewhere in the SDA. And then that additional H, again, it tries to place too much onus on city staff to do work that we don't do anywhere else for any other subdivisions in the city. So I don't want to just have this lingering on that there's continuing negotiations. I would rather direction that you approve the agreement that was in front of you originally that we've already approved. And I'm here for questions.
Council, do you have questions for the attorney?
I would like to make one response with regards to her sidewalks. The past 4 filings in in Stone Ridge Village, our PUD policy is we have bonded for the sidewalks. The sidewalks installed in the commercial areas or non-single family residential areas, we've installed. For example, you drive into Stone Ridge and filing 1, the 8-foot sidewalk on the north side of Stone Ridge was installed originally. The sidewalks along the single family lots were installed when the homes were built. The idea of, and that was based on, that was incorporated into the regs, if you will, of the PUD in filing 1 and filing 2. That continued in filing 3, where the sidewalks in the residential zones were installed in cooperation with our builders to run those together. The issue that it would be done within 2 years was the prior policy of the city with regards to the PUD. That issue came into play. And to give you an idea, we had a couple of vacancies with regards to filing 2 back in the 2007, 8, and 9 range. And the reason why I wrote it that way is because the city had a policy then with us that the economy tanked back then. So because of economic conditions, we extended that warranty or that guarantee to put the sidewalks in. Ultimately, we got down to the point where all the sidewalks were in. I think there was 1 lot that ended up getting filled in to fill the dots. That's the policy of the PUD. If staff moves forward and we continue with that policy as part of our agreement in the PUD, I'm just trying to document it in something of record because your current staff is new. We got a new planner, we got a new city engineer, they have no history. If there's some other way to document this and move forward, I just don't want to have to do the battle where suddenly they go, well, that was prior and that doesn't matter. Yes, it does, because that's the agreement in this PUD. And we're looking forward and doing the same thing in filing 5. Put the sidewalk in that we have to in accordance with the plan, and then do the same thing that we've done along those lines. The bond is still in place and it's released as the builders take down the ZDPs. So all of those things are in there to clarify and make sure of record where we go forward. Now, if staff acknowledges those things, then I'm okay with that. But what I'm hearing tonight is they don't want to.
So Nina, my question for you is what Mr. Howe was saying here, you've already reviewed and saying, no, you've already been down that legally and you're not willing to move from there. Is that, or the city's not willing to move from there? Is that, sorry.
Yeah, correct, because if something's in the PUD, it's in the PUD, but the subdivision, a subdivision approval is different. I'll let Karen add if she has anything, but it doesn't, it changes the requirements that are for a subdivision, and we don't agree with the 3 additions that were made to the agreement. It's not, I don't feel it's appropriate for this type of agreement. It's just either stating something that is believed to be in the PUD that doesn't apply, or it's putting onus on, again, city staff and private owners regarding the sidewalks. It's and not standard that it's also not what you do for any other property and subdivision.
Well, I heard you say you want direction from council, and it looks to me like you've gone, or the city has gone, as far as they are prepared to go with time, expense into this request. What the city's recommended is what you, as the attorney for the city, are recommending. And it sounds like if we were to approve this, Mr. Howe's saying they're not going to sign it. So what's the purpose of where are we going with this?
Well, a little bit to add on to it, and Nina, you say you're asking for, or you're looking for guidance from council, and it's a binary vote. We either approve or we don't approve. That's not guidance. I'm uncomfortable with some, I mean, you have provided, Mr. Howe, some very compelling information with your rebuttal engineers that I've spent a lot of time reading. I read it to the point where I was concerned with what testimony had been presented to council. I actually walked every inch of the curbs looking for cracks and looking for, lines and all of this. And after I worked, or I'm sorry, I walked every step, taking photographs of every blemish I could find. I found your testimony to be more accurate. I will simply say that for the record. So if it's a binary decision, yes or no, I'm uncomfortable with this agreement based on what I have seen. So there's no guidance you're asking for. It's approve it, and I don't agree with it, or don't approve it. So I know how I have to vote. I have to vote no. I'm just saying, you did provide compelling testimony, and I walked and inspected. And I'm not an engineer. I was just looking for cracks. So, which was the most simple question I pursued. So thank you.
Well, Robert or Rusty, you can make a motions to amend as well, but then you would be making a motion to amend against the advice of our council or staff. So you can do it and see if you can get a vote for that. It's not binary in that sense.
Okay, I'll wait till the motion time. I just want the council to know,
Yeah.
I walked it and there were no cracks. I just want you to know that there were no cracks in the concrete on the curbs.
Well, it's great that we get really engaged in our job, but that I know from what I've seen on both sides of this, that's not necessarily accurate either. There's width measurements that are not consistent and other stuff. So I'm stuck between, look, I know construction, but it's not my office here to weigh in one way or another.
Correct.
So to take your comment, we should probably ask the city engineer how that washes against what the
Correct.
findings are. But then we get into this whole thing. This is not our
It's not our
purview. It's
expertise.
just not our purview. So I guess I'm still stuck with the question to ask the attorney and Mr. Howe. If you guys are not on the same page, why is this before us? Why don't you guys get on the same page, then bring us something that we can approve so you can move forward with it? It doesn't make sense to me. We say yes because we think it's going to move it forward. You say, well, this doesn't work for us, so you don't sign it. We just wasted our time, the city's time and everything else. So have you guys sat down
It
at the
sounds like we're not
table?
gonna be on the same page, so you could, I mean, you don't always can take my advice, but I gave my legal advice as to the agreement. I don't agree with those 3 additional sections. As to technical items, I agree to ask the city engineer, but yeah, it doesn't seem like we're gonna get into an agreement with each other as much as I would hope to, but it's already been a lot of, time and resources, so
I think I can
I've given my
respond to the
advice on it. And the technical items I can't speak to because I'm not an engineer. I haven't taken a science class since the 90s.
So what I see is that the subdivision development agreement is prepared in compliance with our code and in reference to our code, and the professionals, which I am not qualified by any stretch of the imagination to deduce whether the curb and gutter are up to standard or there's cracks. I mean, a crack to me and a crack to you would be 2 different things because that's judgmental. And so I rely on the analysis of our attorney and staff to apply the code uniformly across everyone, and everyone, and I mean, there's different zonings. This is a PUD. We have other PUDs in town. It's not the only one. And so we look at the code, we apply the code uniformly without bias or prejudice. And that's, I would deduce, is the product that's before us. All of the evidence that's been presented to us otherwise, that's a conversation for the professionals to work through and have, because I am not qualified to make those determinations. I'm an accountant turned real estate agent. That's about the limit of it all. So that's what I see is our charge is to agree with the development agreement or not, based upon the analysis and the application of the code. And I have faith that staff has done that. Institutional knowledge just comes and goes, and that's why we apply the code. And that's just my thought process. And it's not biased towards you, Skip, or anyone else. It's just the process, and it has to be uniform and applied fairly and equally to all in a perfect world.
Council, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion on this topic.
Mayor, just before you, I think Mr. Howe had a response to the attorney he wanted to say.
We've not had the opportunity or sat down with staff face to face to go through some of these issues. Our request has been to respond to everything in writing. If we can get through the issues of the policies and procedures that past councils have approved with regards to the PUD and how we move forward and the process that we can come forward. And if we can come to an agreement with staff outside of this agreement, we're happy to sign it. Just wanted to get something in the record for historical perspective, because the only way for them to find it is to go through every plat approval over the last 5 plats. That's a lot of time consuming. I think we can get together, and I'm hoping we can work through it. If the only issue that we've got on our curb is we've got a section that's got a crack in it, we can find the crack. If it's 300 feet or 400 feet we got to take out, we'll take out and re-pour. Just need to know that we have a consistent process to go through. I've learned the words of the city staff with regards to acceptance versus approval. The city construction inspector inspects and approves, and the city engineer accepts. So that's the process we've been going under for the last 25 years. I don't think that's changed. If it has, We're not aware of it. So I'm happy to sit down with staff if that's what you want. You guys get the opportunity to set policy on how things are done. The city manager then has the duty to implement those policies and procedures based on your direction. So however you want to act on this subdivision development agreement, I'm happy to sit down. Dana and I are happy to sit down with staff and work through some of these issues. And if they need to be clarified outside of this agreement with the city attorney, perhaps that can be done.
So second question I have then, with that statement being said, if we approve this agreement, staff, can you guys come together and work through this and figure it out?
The request by staff is the standard agreement. If you're wanting or directing us to make alterations to the standard agreement, that's different than approving the agreement in front of you.
And that's not what I'm asking.
Okay, I misunderstood.
If we approve the agreement as recommended by staff tonight, going forward after that, is there still conversation and ability to work together to come to finish up and move ahead? Or does this draw the line in the sand and it's this way or the highway? To make it very simple, is it not that simple?
The construction drawings for the development include all of the infrastructure and improvements that are supposed to be there, and that includes the sidewalks. And so with this agreement, that the timing and stuff is bound by what's in the engineering specs.
Okay.
A deviation would need to be otherwise identified within the agreement that would ultimately be approved by city council.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
And what I struggle with in this before we go to a vote is you're looking at a developer who has done 4 of 7 sections of their subdivision. And they're squeaking. They're saying, wait a minute, something's not as it's been. And what my concern is that each of our staff are in genuine due diligence, doing what is before you. But I'm seeing that our builders are going, wait a minute, you're not giving me the same. So what I'm concerned about in this is that I want to see them finish their 7 different subdivisions. And I don't want to see that we are creating this loggerheads at each juncture. Sounds like this sidewalk thing, which is none of our business, sounds like it's going to get figured out between you.
I hope so.
Yeah, it sounds like that's going to, but it sounds like he's saying to the city attorney and to the city staff, hey, there's some stuff here we're stuck on and we can't move forward as professionals to do what we do. And we need to get a meeting of the minds, and we've already got some stuff which we've done with you over time. So I guess what I'm stuck with here is this concerns me that we've got this going on. The attorney saying that's it, no far, and the developer saying, well, so go ahead, Carol.
I'd like to move to approve the subdivision development agreement for Stone Ridge Village, filing number 5 as presented, with the requirement that Exhibit A must be updated with cost estimates acceptable to the city for all the improvements being installed, and that the SDA and associated final plat are to be recorded concurrently after the financial agreement is provided to the city.
I'll second.
Case,
Yes.
Connors,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neil,
No.
Zuluaga.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Sorry.
I'm a yes.
Oh, where are you? Sorry. Yes. Okay,
Practice.
motion passes 6-1.
All right, we're off to item 8. We have none. Item 9, we have 9A. That is number ordinance 1451, and we have Nina present on Zoom.
Yes, good evening, everyone again. This is a agreement approving a lease agreement for the special use permit that you already approved on last in April, on April 20th, Verizon special use permit. This is just to allow us to approve the lease. Your charter requires that leases must be approved via ordinance. So that's why we're back here. We had negotiated this lease back and forth for many months. This is the approved version that we're presenting to you, and I stand ready for any questions.
Council, any questions for item A?
Packet, please.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I believe it's 20. So the question I have for you, Nina, is when this was before us before, there was a question about the underground electric. And if I remember, Jeff was saying how there was an issue with the, what is it, what's the four acronym group, NEPA, right? With NEPA. So in approving this ordinance, my question is, it didn't seem to me that Verizon was responsive to, and maybe they are, I just don't know, to getting the necessary permits to have that electric underground, so it's not above ground. Oh, that's B. All right. So, well, it's before the horse for me to approve this and not know the other one's done.
The other one's permanent at the pool.
No, I'm not talking about permanent at the pool.
We're talking about the permanent at the pool.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Thank you. I stand corrected. I'll pause on my question.
It's a 60-foot tower at the pool.
So does anyone else have any questions about A?
I'll make them.
So if I may, counsel, just very quickly, we, for some reason, we missed a small error, immaterial error on page 31, second paragraph under 9. The second lessor should read lessee. And I apologize, we didn't get that fixed for public hearing, but we will make that fix.
And we do have one person signed up for public comment on
On
this item.
9A?
Yes,
Public hearing.
gentlemen.
Michael, that was the first line in that
Page-
first.
The first line in the second paragraph, under
Page which?
9, termination
31.
on page 31. Lessor may, unless otherwise stated, terminate this agreement on written notice to the lessee, is how it should read, not lessor.
So the motion will read as amended.
As amended, correct.
Thank you.
So if we could have the gentleman come up to the podium then, please.
Good evening, my name is Jim French. I would like to thank the mayor and council members for the opportunity to talk about the importance of obtaining the correct liability insurance for the city. This type of health insurance is called pollution insurance. Most general liability insurance policies have a pollution exclusion. Under this exclusion, EMF, RF are listed as pollutants. The city must demand that any permit of any kind allowing Verizon to install cell towers or related equipment in the city must include the specific pollution coverage in the license agreement. This insurance must be obtained from a licensed third-party insurance company, not a self-insured indemnity by Verizon or any company listed on the license agreement. To protect the health and well-being of our citizens and to avoid possible lawsuits by such citizens against the city and/or employees or council, the city must reject any offer of self-insurance or indemnity made by the installing company as not sufficient. Due to the well-established fact the RF is a hazard as stated by major insurance companies such as Lloyd's and Swiss Re, they do not offer pollution insurance for RF under any circumstances. I will give examples from Lloyd's quote for insurance followed by Verizon's exclusion in their policy. Lloyd's, the electromagnetic field exclusion is a general insurance exclusion and is applied across the market as standard. The purpose of the exclusion is to exclude cover for illnesses caused by continuous long-term non-ionizing radiation exposure. Cell phone companies define electromagnetic fields as a pollutant and will not cover damages. From Verizon's mobile insurance, exclusions, This insurance does not apply to loss or damage identified in any of the following or directly or indirectly caused or resulting from any of the following. Pollution, the discharge, dispersal, seepage, migration, or escape of pollutants. Pollutants include artificially produced electric fields, magnetic field, electromagnetic fields, sound waves, microwaves, and artificially produced ionizing or non-ionizing radiation, among other things. Every cell phone company defines electromagnetic fields, microwaves, and all artificially produced non-ionizing radiation as pollutants and refuse to cover for damages from such pollutants. Since neither the city nor Verizon is able to obtain the proper pollution insurance from third-party companies, Verizon will attempt to offer other forms of insurance without pollution clause or will offer indemnity self-insurance. This indemnity will not be offered directly by Verizon, but rather by another company which will be installing the equipment and which may be listed as doing business as Verizon. Verizon is well aware of the RF is a known hazard and admits this fact in their shareholders' annual reports and also is a known in their own insurance exclusions to their customers. Therefore, third-party insurance is the only way to ensure proper handling of this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Grace, anyone else?
Nope, and I don't have anyone on Zoom.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve
You-
ordinance.
Mayor, just point of order here. Is the attorney still on the?
Nina is still
Nina, are
present.
you still there?
Yes, she is.
Nina, can you comment on the concerns from Mr. French? And our agreement here under section 11 on page 32?
Yeah, I see we have the insurance, and also if someone could raise the Verizon person, maybe they can give input as well, but we have in, just to be on the same page, we're referring to the insurance, and we're requiring commercial liability for 2 million per occurrence and 4 million in the annual aggregate for bodily injury and property damage. I don't know insurance enough to comment on whether or not those policies exclude the pollution that was mentioned, but like I said, maybe we can have the Verizon representative speak to that.
I think Kelly is present, the Verizon representative. She's on Zoom. I don't know if she would care to address that.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Kelly Harrison. I'm representing Verizon Wireless. The approved insurance provision is drafted as Nina read it. I also know nothing about the pollution insurance provision, so I'm not able to advise on that at all.
So Nina, my concern then is if neither of you are aware of this, and my concern is for the city, firstly, Nina, if, as Mr. French suggests, there is a lawsuit, can the city cover that if the very insurance we're signing in this contract does not cover it? It's like, what sort of liability does that put the city of Woodland Park in?
The Verizon is indemnifying us for any provision, and then we also have immunity from the Colorado Immunity state statute, and then we have let's see, we also have so those two things, indemnification and then just general the general statute. I'm not concerned that such a lawsuit would be able to be brought against the city. I understand the concern, but I don't I don't think it could move forward against the city. It would be it's also too tenuous of a link to prove the damages versus sales. It was something we'd be hearing about all over the state, all over the country if these lawsuits are being successful. So,
Mayor, just for clarification, I'd ask Nina, is she saying that the city's protection is under governmental immunity?
that's what we would assert, and then also just general the link being too tenuous to prove, to establish, even if we weren't governmental. If this, because like I said, otherwise these lawsuits would brought, you'd be hearing about them all the time, you know. But yes, that's, I'm referring to governmental immunity and also the indemnification provisions that are in the lease agreement.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion then?
Council, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1451 series 2023 as presented by the city attorney and as amended by our, requested by our city manager.
Okay, Connors.
No.
Wait a minute, we have a set.
Oh, sorry.
Still no.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Rusty.
That's good.
Okay, sorry. Connors,
Again, no.
Harvey,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Zuluaga,
No.
Labar,
Yes.
Case.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-2.
Okay, we are on to item 9B, approval of ordinance number 1452, and Nina is again presenting.
Yes, thank you. So again, leases according to your charter must be approved via ordinance. That's why we're here again for, even though the special use permit was already approved by you in March through ordinance 1441, and this is for the temporary tower right behind City Hall. And we have gone through this agreement again back and forth with myself, staff, and also Verizon, and we feel comfortable with this agreement as presented.
Okay, Councilmember Zuluaga, I believe you had something on this.
I did. So do you remember what I was talking to you about earlier? So Jeff was concerned that they would not be, anyway, so where is the status of underground power to this and not having it above ground for the duration of the project?
So from the practical standpoint, I'll let Verizon answer, but you are correct that we didn't really agree that those type of approvals were necessary, and we weren't in terms of needing to go underground because we're not near water source. I think that's what it was. But we didn't come to an agreement on that. We weren't really satisfied with Verizon's answer, but we're still, the lease agreement itself where we feel comfortable with, but I'll let Verizon answer as to the details of undergrounding and why they feel those approvals are needed that they cited to.
Are you still able to hear me?
We are.
So as we discussed at the hearing for the light site, code allows for the service lines to be run above ground for a maximum of 3 months. And so we actually inserted that language verbatim into this light site agreement. You'll see it at the very bottom of page 1, extending onto page 2. So we've placed your code language into the agreement so that it will be adhered to during install.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and let Ben also address this.
Okay, so I apologize for the cross-pollination between item B and C, but they're actually very closely tied. Because the Verizon and Core came together for a very beneficial solution to install 4 conduits in that run in the city right of way. And you'll see language addressing the franchise agreement with those runs within the city right of way to bring them down and around so that they're not having to run above ground for the entirety of the agreement. So that was a good partnership between all 3 groups.
Thank you. Yeah, that was good solution.
Okay, so for item B, can I get a motion? Oh, Grace, do you have anyone signed up? Oh, and I'm sorry, Nina wants to speak.
No, just public hearing. Yeah.
No.
I don't have anyone signed up or on Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 1452, series 2023, approving the lease agreement between the city and SoCo Partnerships doing business as Verizon Wireless for the purposes of placing a temporary cell tower at 220 West South Avenue.
I'll second.
Okay, Harvey,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Zulawaga,
Yes.
Labar,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Connors.
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimously.
We are on to item C, ordinance 1453. And Nina, you are also the presenter.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, for this one, I would like staff to jump in as to the history because we were just asked to review the lease and negotiate it and approve it, which we did. Again, leases are, need to be approved by the charter and it's here, attached. So we agree legally, but I would like, staff to give the background as to how this came about because they're, they should get the credit for what's happening here.
Sure. Who on staff would like to present that?
Ben, did you want to? Is it on that?
Yeah, I can jump in on that.
Very good.
So we actually have a representative from CORE here tonight, Rob, and he's got a PowerPoint presentation, if you'd like to see that as well. But basically what happened was CORE won some grants for Charge Ahead Colorado and offered to install a charging station at City Hall. And so this is the fruition of that project to be able to do an electric vehicle charging station back behind there. And there was some discussion about where the electric would be run in the right of way. And once again, just want to highlight there's a collaborative partnership to bring the conduits, save trenching, save time, save money between to serve both needs for the temporary light site and for the charging station. So that's kind of how this all came together.
That's great.
Yeah, I just want to say that CORE's been a very helpful, patient partner as we work through this. We appreciate their partnership on a great number of things. So this is one of 11 sites, I think, throughout your service area that I'm going to steal your thunder, Rob. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Thanks for having me tonight. Yeah, we are doing 11 sites, and this is one of them. We are excited to put an EV charger here. In fact, I wish it was here now because I needed to get home. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, Ben.
Wait till the middle of winter.
The rest stop has one.
Does it really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. All right. No, Ben's been great to work with. We're excited for this. We want to help the community, especially folks that may not have, they may have an EV, but they may not have infrastructure in their home or apartments to use something like that. Also employees or people that just want to check out your beautiful facility here. I was very impressed with this building and the park. It was a great drive down here from Sedalia.
This building, really?
Yeah.
Lord, come
Maybe-
visit us. We'll tell you a story or two.
I've only been in 2 rooms here, but maybe there's others that I shouldn't.
It was
go
the
in.
people. They impressed you so much that you didn't see the room itself.
Yeah.
Michael said you came when it was dark.
Well, Ben did tell me the Nuggets game was gonna be on here tonight, and I was a little disappointed, but.
But if you'd like to do your PowerPoint presentation, please feel free to.
Okay, sure. I don't know who's, are you?
Eric back
Behind
there's
you.
got it.
Okay,
so.
all right, sure. Yeah, you can go to the next one. So, as Ben alluded to, we did get some grant money from the state of Colorado to put in these EV chargers. This is one of 11. Let's see, we are going to basically give this EV charger to the city of Woodland Park for 5 years. Upon that time, we can renegotiate the lease. Maybe you take it over, maybe you ask us to remove it. We can figure that out in 5 years. The condition of the lease is that it is going to be free for all users for, I believe, 90 days. I'd have to read the actual number. It's different at some different locations. After that, when we establish a rate structure on the EV charger, we are going to do it as reasonably as possible. We have some EV chargers in Sedalia for members, for residents of this territory. It's just slightly over the residential kilowatt hour rate. So this is not a revenue. We're not here. This is not a profit venue for CORE. It's trying to give back to the community. So here, I'm not going to read everything here, but the goal of this EV charger is really to give back to the community, and also to promote the adoption of electric vehicles. I'm not here to stump speech for electric vehicles. That's not my goal here. But we can kind of get a sense of what's coming down the road, literally. And we want to be part of the solution versus standing in the way of any kind of progress that community members need to make. And like I said before, this will be free of charge for, I believe, 90 days. And then after that, we're going to establish a rate that's very reasonable, not much more than a residential electric rate. It's going to be one pedestal EV charger with 2 cords. So 2 vehicles will be able to charge at the same time. And Ben, it's just on the south end here, right?
It'll actually be by the senior center on the north end.
It wasn't the senior center. Okay.
Yeah, just to the west of that swale that kind of comes down that riprap swale area.
And Ben has been great to work with. We're sharing some trenches with Verizon. Ben's been much easier to work with than Verizon, but we'll leave that alone. Next. We do have the ability to remotely shut these chargers off. For some reason, you folks needed it to be, we can do that. We can monitor the usage from our own dashboard. And really, one of our main objectives is to analyze the data that comes to us to see how it's being used, who's using it. We don't have cameras or anything like that. We just want to, when we improve infrastructure in the future, we want to do so with some education and hopefully keep system improvement costs down. I think we're allowing 2 parking spaces for this in a matter of it's really 3 spaces, just to give people some room. So 3 spaces for 2 cars to park in front of these EV chargers. Next. That's pretty much it. I'm more than willing to answer any questions or take any comments or suggestions.
Council, any question? I see. One question, Ben had already addressed the issue with above ground wiring for the Verizon tower, the temporary tower. And we hope that temporary tower goes away very soon. How then will we address the wiring for the charging stations? Will they still be above ground or in a trench or in a conduit? How will that work?
So they'll all be run together in what's called a duct bank, where there's 4 conduits within there. So there's a feed for the charging station that comes down off the transformer. There's a feed for the light site for the power. And then there's a tube for the fiber to feed the charging station. And then there's a spare tube in case anything happens. And so the idea would be stuff can come and go, but all of those 4 tubes are available for use that run in the right of way to the same location without having a bunch of different pathways.
And one of the reasons
Below
that
ground, excuse me.
below ground. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. And one of the reasons for shutting it down might be wildfire.
Potentially, yeah. Just in general, and I know Rob can speak to this, but below ground utilities are far more resilient than above ground are. They're also a lot more expensive to install.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't have to shut it off, but again, emergencies, sure, a fire. If you folks notice something visibly wrong, I mean, shoot, let's shut it off and figure it out later, of course. There's also going to be metering pedestal, right, with a main disconnect there too, that you folks would have access to.
And the point of contact for a shutdown would be the local core office or some other.
Yeah,
entity.
I don't know if you folks are familiar with Mike McCorkle and the district office, but yeah, that would be my first call for sure.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Sure.
Well, Rob, I'm one of the members of CORE. I like the way your membership works. We had a presentation, was it 2 meetings ago? Someone came from CORE. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid about how everything needs to go electric.
Yep.
And it concerns me that I guess you're getting grant money from Governor Polis or some federal branch of.
It's a state funding, but yes, I think it's trickled down from
the feds.
Yeah.
Right. So from that standpoint, it's probably a moot point to say as a member of CORE that it's costing me to do this do-gooder for those people who are swallowing the Kool-Aid and want to have electric vehicles, right? So I have two questions for you. One is when the load on the electric grid becomes like it is in California, where they have brownouts, if I'm going to get the milk at the store in the middle of winter here and my electric vehicle goes flat, and there's an overload on electric because we're not using gas, we're not using gasoline anymore, how's all that going to work?
That's really what we are trying to solve right now. And part of the reason why we want to put these public EV chargers is to study the impacts on the grid. It's my opinion that especially within CORE's territory, our grid is pretty resilient. However, if we're going to have high fluctuations, we need to be prepared for that. And whether that's some kind of load management system, especially with public infrastructure, that's the kind of stuff we want to study. Right now, we are at this very moment in time, we're not concerned about rolling brownouts. We do have plenty of theories about California, and we do not want to be California. Okay. And that's perfectly fine that you're not drinking the EV Kool-Aid. I totally get it. It's I've actually started driving one recently. Just for it's not even my vehicle. It is a fun little car, right? Am I going to take it cross country? No. But we need to study those type of things. We need to figure out how strong our grid is, how we can manage it, and this is just really dipping our toes in the water to explore that.
And it sounds like it's funded right now through some sort of grant.
Yes.
So as a long-term user of CORE and member of CORE, I guess what you're kind of saying is inevitably we're all going to bear the cost of this experimentation.
Well,
It's going to
Or
be paid
development.
for. They said after 90 days, you have to pay to use it.
True. That's true.
No, for that, sure, but he understands my bigger point than that. They're putting a lot of developmental energy into this. Right now, it's getting some funding, but eventually it's going to be, you guys are going to have to pay for this out of what revenues you receive. And those of us who are not using the electric vehicle, my question is, are we going to bear the brunt for this? Well, part of it, not the brunt, but
part of being a cooperative is it is a balancing act, right? We want everyone to pay their fair share for what they use, but at the same time, we all do share some common resources. So it's definitely a balancing act and something that we do think about quite a bit at CORE. We can pinpoint lots of certain areas, especially rural areas far away from substations. It costs more to operate those lines than it does in suburban Castle Rock, yet they pay the same electrical rate. So at some level, as members of this cooperative, we all at some point subsidize each other. That'd be my answer to that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1453, series 2023, approving the lease agreement between the city and CORE Electric for the purpose of use of land for an electric vehicle charging station.
Before I get a second, Grace, is there anyone signed up?
Oh, sorry, Mayor.
I do have one hand up on Zoom.
I'll withdraw that motion until we have public comment. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sam, just like you.
Linda, you may speak.
Thank you. My name is Linda. I am a resident of Woodland Park. And I'm wondering, this might be a question to ask of the vendor. I'm wondering if this electric EV station is going to continue working when we have power outages or rolling power outages.
Well, if the power's out, it ain't gonna work. I'm not aware of any rolling power outages. Unless you're talking about the possibility of the fire mitigation settings. That's something, I don't know if the city of Woodland Park has been involved in that. That's a Mike McCorkle question, but I do know, in some of our territories that are experiencing wildfire, yeah, we don't want to re-energize lines when there's active fire crews. And if that were to happen in downtown Woodland Park, yeah, we have to shut it down.
I believe I'm referring more to the power outages and rolling power outages that happened after the snowstorm that we just had just a few weeks ago. And the rolling power outages that our federal government is referring to, even as summer gets closer and people are going to be using air conditioners more frequently.
Not here.
I don't.
You don't know that.
We don't have,
know that.
to my knowledge, we don't have rolling brownouts or blackouts here.
Not yet.
Well, our goal is not to do that. And we do not want to be California. That is not our goal. I think they've mismanaged their grid to excess. That's my opinion.
I think that's a good answer. Okay, Kelly, go ahead and go back.
Yes, I'd like to again make a motion to approve ordinance 1453, series 2023, approval of a lease agreement between the city and Core Electric Cooperative for the purposes of use of land for an electric vehicle charging station.
I'll second it.
Hart, Nakai,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Zuluaga,
No,
Labar,
it's not personal.
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Connors,
Yes.
Harvey.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for your presentation and your information. And Ben, thank you for your information.
Oh, wait. In case you had it on a DVR.
All right, we don't have any new business on item 10. On 11, we have reports. I just have a couple of dates to announce. June 1st is the first Woodland Park Farmers Market of 2023 summer season. It starts tomorrow, Friday, from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. at North Center Street by Memorial Park, and it will be every Friday until September 22nd. Vendors will be providing Colorado fruits, vegetables, fresh baked bread, honey, coffee, food trucks, and much more. On June 2nd, we have the Aquatic Center summer hours that are starting. Every Saturday and Sunday has open swim from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Check out the new schedule on their website. On June 3rd, we have the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful's 21st annual citywide cleanup from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Memorial Park. Community members of all ages are invited to volunteer to pick up litter and clean up our city to help keep Woodland Park clean and beautiful. Volunteer check-ins begin at 8:30 a.m. Enjoy free food, music, and games while helping your community. And we have, through our Parks and Recreation Department, family dog training. Registration is now open. Citizens can go to the Parks and Rec website to register for one of the 6 weeks class sessions. Registration closes on June 15th. We also have June 9th, the annual Honorary Deputy Sheriff Association Golf Tournament. That's to raise funds for uniforms and equipment for volunteer posse and reserves, and that'll be at the Shining Mountain Golf Course. That starts at 7:30 a.m. on June 9th. That is all I have. Councilmember Case.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Councilmember Neal.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Councilmember Zuluaga.
You gave my announcements.
Sorry.
So only other thing to say about that is weather is likely to be a little cloudy. Not sure if we'll have storms or not. So if you do come to the citywide cleanup, bring a rain jacket just in case.
Very good. Councilmember Nakai.
So we had the Wildfire Preparedness Day, May 20th. We had about 160 citizens come out and had a great turnout with the booth vendors, and got a number of extra people signed up for peak alerts and getting the address signs. So
great.
it was a lot less than last year, but last year's was 4 years in the making. So
Yeah,
160 was a really good turnout.
very good. Councilmember Connors.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to mention the Sheriff's Open House this Saturday. It's starting at 10 o'clock.
Also, on June the 10th, Saturday, from 12 to 3 is the annual American Legion Pig Roast. It'll be held at the Cristola Roadhouse. Scouts in uniform get to eat free. On the 14th of June, Flag Day, we'll be doing a flag retirement ceremony starting at 5 o'clock at the VFW Hall off of 67 North. That's all I have. Thank you.
Sheriff's.
Oh, I'm sorry. 10 to 2.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Harvey.
I have nothing, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Nina, City Attorney, anything?
I don't have anything other than thank you for the courtesy. I do think something's missing when we're not in person, but I appreciate the courtesy of allowing me to appear virtually since I'm not traveling right now. And in 2 weeks, I'll be giving birth. So
Congratulations.
When's
Very
the
good.
estimated date?
June 15.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
Yeah, so it's coming.
Right.
Next time I see you, I'll be mom.
Okay, City Manager.
I can't top that. I got nothing.
Very good.
No dad.
This meeting is adjourned.
104 to 93. The final score.
3 more to go.